If you think you've seen darkness, you haven't stepped inside these walls yet. Hit that subscribe button, because once this story begins, there's no turning back. The year was 2014. Pelican Bay State Prison, a place built to cage California's most dangerous men, was already a name whispered with fear among inmates and guards alike. But on a cold October morning, the silence of D blocks shattered. The intercom crackled, alarms wailed, and within seconds, the yard became a war zone. By the time officers regained control, 2 inmates lay bleeding on the concrete. One was a high-ranking gang member known as Luis "Ghost" Ramirez, serving life without parole. The other, a young man barely 23, was Daniel Cole, a former college wrestler who'd fallen into crime after one desperate night changed his life. Witnesses claimed Ghost had cornered Daniel near the metal fencing, accusing him of betrayal. Then, in less than a heartbeat, shivs flashed, blood spilled, and the cameras caught chaos. Dozens of inmates rushing, scattering, screaming. But what made investigators pause wasn't the violence. It was what Daniel whispered as guards pinned him to the ground. He said it wasn't supposed to be him. Detectives from the California Department of Corrections soon arrived. Officer Lena Hart, known for her sharp instincts and relentless drive, was assigned to the internal investigation. She'd seen plenty of prison stabbings before, but something about this scene felt wrong. The weapon used wasn't a standard inmate-made blade. It was cleaner, almost professional. And the surveillance footage? Missing 22 crucial seconds. Someone had tampered with it. As Hart dug deeper, she learned that Ghost had been leading peace talks between rival gangs, an unlikely effort to end a decade-long cycle of violence inside Pelican Bay. Daniel Cole had been one of his trusted mediators. So why would a peacemaker suddenly turn on the man trying to unite the prison? Inmates refused to talk. Guards acted nervous. Files went missing from the warden's office. And that's when Hart received an anonymous note slipped under her office door. It read, "He was silenced before he could speak. Check cell 312. The next morning, accompanied by 2 officers, Hart entered cell 312, Daniel's bunk. The walls were bare, except for one thing: a single page torn from a Bible, taped behind a loose brick. Scribbled in ink across the page were 5 chilling words: "Redemption comes with a price." As she held it up to the light, she noticed faint bloodstains along the edge, fresh enough to smear. Hart's gut told her this wasn't just another prison fight. Someone inside Pelican Bay was orchestrating something bigger, something that blurred the line between punishment and salvation. And when she requested the visitor logs for Ghost Ramirez's final week, she saw a name she never expected: a former corrections officer, someone who was supposed to be dead.
But before she could reach him, Cell Block D went into lockdown again. This time, a guard had gone missing. The morning after the lockdown, Pelican Bay felt like a graveyard wrapped in concrete. Every sound, keys clinking, boots echoing, radios buzzing, carried a nervous edge. Inside the command center, Officer Lena Hart stood over a stack of reports that made less sense the longer she read them. The official statement called it a routine disturbance. But there was nothing routine about a dead gang leader, a missing guard, and 22 seconds of erased footage. Hart's instinct screamed cover-up. Then the call came through. A guard had found traces of blood near the restricted corridor, a hallway sealed years ago after an inmate riot turned deadly. The warden ordered it off limits. Hart ignored that. She grabbed her flashlight, clipped her badge, and went in. The corridor smelled of rust and mildew. Her boots splashed through standing water as the light from her beam caught on something scratched into the concrete walls. Names. Dozens of them. Some marked with crosses, others with dates. The deeper she walked, the quieter the air became, like the prison itself was holding its breath. Halfway down, she found it. Keller's flashlight lying cracked and bloodstained, and beside it, a message written in what looked like dried paint. We all deserve redemption. Some just never get the chance. Hart crouched beside it, examining the floor. Drag marks, Two sets of footprints, one belonging to Keller, the other smaller, possibly inmate-issued boots. Whoever took him knew the blind spots. Back in the surveillance room, she pulled Keller's last log entries. His key card showed one final access, cell 312, Daniel Cole's cell. The same one where Hart found that Bible page days earlier. But Daniel had been in solitary since the attack. No one should have been near that cell. Hart requested footage from the night Keller vanished. When the tech team restored the corrupted files, she froze. The screen showed Keller standing outside cell 312 speaking through the bars. Then a shadow moved behind him. The feed glitched. When it came back, Keller was gone. The next frame showed a hand reaching toward the camera, tattooed with the symbol of a three-point cross, the same one found near Ghost Ramirez's body. By dusk, whispers spread across the prison. Some inmates said a secret faction had formed, men who believed true redemption could only come through sacrifice. Others said the movement was being controlled by someone on the outside, a woman who once worked with the Department of Corrections. That night, Hart visited Daniel in solitary. His eyes were hollow, but his voice was calm. "You think you can stop it, but you're already part of it." "Part of what?" she demanded. He leaned forward, his voice barely above a whisper. "The cleansing."
Before she could ask more, the power went out. The entire cell block plunged into darkness. Over the intercom, static hissed, followed by a distorted voice repeating the same phrase over and over. "Redemption begins at dawn." When the lights flickered back, Daniel was still in his cell, but written on the glass between them in thick black ink was a single word that hadn't been there before: "Run." And somewhere deep inside the prison, a siren began to scream. When the alarms tore through Pelican Bay that night, the entire prison became chaos. Cells slammed, guards shouted, and smoke drifted through the ventilation shafts like the building itself was burning from the inside out. Officer Lena Hart sprinted toward D Block, her radio hissing with fragments of orders: lockdown, breach in the lower wing, multiple missing officers. By the time she reached the lower levels, the air reeked of sweat, fire, and fear. The redemption message was echoing again through the intercom system. Only this time, it wasn't distorted. It was clear. A man's voice, calm, controlled. "The price has been paid. The cleansing begins now." Hart turned the corner, and there he was, Daniel Cole, standing in front of the control room, no cuffs, no guards. The steel door behind him hung open. How he got out of solitary, no one knew. His eyes were blank, but his voice was steady. "You shouldn't have come here," he said. "Where's the warden?" Hart demanded. Daniel looked past her toward the flickering hall lights. "He's gone. They're all gone. You still don't understand, do you? This isn't about revenge, it's about balance." Hart raised her weapon. "Drop it, Daniel. Whatever you think you're doing, it ends here." He smiled faintly. That's what Ghost said before they silenced him. And then he stepped aside. Behind him, inside the control room, the monitors flickered to life. Security footage looping from different wings of the prison. Dozens of inmates kneeling, their heads bowed, guards standing motionless nearby. It wasn't chaos, it was ritual. Daniel pressed a button on the console. Ghost wanted peace, but the system doesn't change through words. It changes through surrender, through sacrifice. On screen, Hart recognized one of the kneeling inmates, Luis Ghost Ramirez himself. The footage was from days before his death. Someone had faked the timestamp. Ghost hadn't been killed in a fight, he'd been executed. And Keller, the missing guard, had filmed it. The truth hit her like a blow. The Reformation Collective wasn't about redemption. It was an underground movement of ex-guards, inmates, and outside allies trying to purify the system by eliminating anyone who refused to convert.
"Who runs this?" Hart asked. Daniel looked directly into the nearest camera. "You already know her name." Hart's stomach turned. Angela Cross, Daniel's sister, the woman who once promised to reform Pelican Bay from the inside out. Before she could react, red lights flooded the hallway. The main gates began unlocking one by one. Somewhere, the system had been overridden. Daniel whispered, "Redemption comes for all of us." Hart lunged forward, tackling him to the ground just as the doors opened. A sea of inmates surged into the corridor, shouting, chaos roaring through the prison once more. Backup arrived seconds later. Gunfire echoed, then silence. When it was over, Daniel Cole was dead. Hart survived, but the footage from that night vanished from every database within 48 hours. The official report called it a riot sparked by inmate unrest. The Reformation Collective was never mentioned. Weeks later, as Hart packed her office to transfer out of Pelican Bay, she received a plain envelope, no return address. Inside was a USB drive. She plugged it in. The screen flickered to life, showing Angela Cross standing in a dim room. "Redemption was never a program," Angela said, staring straight into the camera. "It was a promise." The video ended with the image of a prison cell door closing and the faint echo of that same phrase, "Redemption begins at dawn." 3 months later, a riot broke out at another maximum security prison in Texas. Same symbol, same message. They thought Pelican Bay was the end, but it was only the beginning. If you thought this story was intense, you're not ready for what's coming next. Subscribe, because the next case will take you deeper than ever before.